Morning of July 30th, I took off work early thanks to somebody coming in for me. And Andy Schultz and I loaded up and headed to Littlefield, Texas to see my mom. This is where we parked, and we had dinner with my mom and her husband that evening. The next morning we launched out early with a goal of reaching Lake City and meeting up with Andy and Jen Mietzek. And as we pulled in, we found their Jeep parked next to a bar and pulled up behind them. Once we had dinner in Lake City, we headed into the mountains. We took the road out to Semin Pass and initially found a campsite by the river, but then Andy decided to go find greener pastures and found a better campsite just down the road. This is our second campsite for the day. We're at one, but decided this one's better. Andy and Jen just pull it up here.
Well, y'all are an hour ahead of us.
We were down by the river earlier, but this one's a little bit better view, and there's some skeeters that were down below, and they're not as bad up here. We got up the next morning and packed camp up and headed down the road to just north of Pagosa Springs, where we found some public land and found a really nice campsite next to a small pond. Andy and Jen decided to head to Pagosa Springs to hit the hot springs. Schultz and I stayed behind at camp. Schultz hopped on his bike and went for a ride in the mountains and found a good downhill just not far from the campsite. I put my running shoes on and went for a run. Here you can see the demographics of my run. Just did a little short, just shy of 3 miles. And then I ran into Schultz on the trail, and he encouraged me to hop on the bike, and I followed him for a nice downhill session on one of the trails that he found. What you making us tonight, Andy?
We are going to have gourmet high-dollar green beans. Only the finest pork that Colorado has to offer, with un-Irish butter and potatoes.
Sounds great, man. Well, I woke up the morning of August 2nd, my 40th birthday, and decided to go for a 40-minute run on my 40th birthday with a goal of having descending splits for all 40 minutes. Ended up being just a hair over 5 miles and several miles, as you can see, right at or below 7 minutes per mile. Once back at camp, I took a little reflection standing by the lake, and then we headed out and we're on our way to Durango, Colorado to meet up with Jonathan Wilson and Bev Shade and their daughter, Ollie. An hour and a half later or so, we arrived in Durango, linked up with Jonathan and Bev and Ollie, met at their house and loaded up some boats and headed to the Animas River for a river trip down the Animas through the middle of Durango. Putting in and the put out, or put in point. Might catch a little rain. Should be fun.
It's coming on a blow.
All right, yeah.
Batten down the hatches. Get your oilskins on, mates. Lone Star.
Oh!
Lone Star.
Lone Star.
Yep.
It's about to rain. Oh, God.
And then gets on driving. Like with the shovel.
Yeah, they drove all the vehicles through. One of the
Happy
vehicles.
birthday.
Hey,
Happy birthday.
All right, Andy and I are about to do a couple drops outside of Durango. I've got my safety sportsmobile hat on.
ready to go. Annie's gonna ride in front of me. Let's do it, Andy. Yeah, man. Hey, diddle diddle, right in the middle. I ended up sideways on that second drop though. I ended up sideways on that second drop.
That was really good.
What do you think, Jen?
Bev had gone to the meat market and got the most wonderful ribeye steaks, which happens to be my favorite cut of meat. Once we had them, cooked them on the grill and had the most fantastic dinner, Ollie announced to all of us that we had to clear out so she could set the table. When she called us back into the room, the table was set with an ice cream cake and candles. And my friends sung me happy birthday in true caver style.
Happy birthday, dear Jamie. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Are you ready?
Yay!
The following morning, I rented a bike at a local bike shop, a mountain bike, and we headed to Purgatory Downhill Park just down the road.
Yeah.
Today was definitely Andy Meetsick's day to shine.
We're here at Purgatory. We're gonna ride for the day.
Rented this bad boy.
The morning of August 4th, we packed up the sportsmobiles and other vehicles and we headed into the mountains just outside of Silverton. We actually camped at a place that Meetsick and I had camped at before about 3 years ago for a four-wheel drive Jeep trip with some of our friends from San Antonio. Once we got camp set up, several of us went on just different adventures. I went for a run. It was a little higher elevation at 10,000 feet, and I had an elevation gain of 1,000 feet. And I ran 6 miles. This was a pretty stiff run. It was downhill on the way out and uphill on the way back.
All right, Schulte, hey, what you got cooking up here tonight, buddy?
Oh, we got some chicken and dumplings and about to saute some vegetables.
Got some potatoes. Woo.
The following morning, we made our way out of camp and back towards Durango, where we split and went our separate ways. At the recommendation of Jonathan, Andy and I went to the Mescalero sand dunes just outside of Roswell and had a great campsite for the night that only cost us $5 for the two of us. From there, Andy and I got up the following morning and made our way the rest of the way back to Austin, where we ended a most fantastic trip.